Okay. First of all, I just want to say, and as always, starting out by saying thank you, God. Um, I couldn't live life like these perps, these bottom feeders that are contracted by governmental entities. And you're gonna see videos of how compromised these people can be. And to hear this trash, they use a lot of childlike people, and if they're not childlike individuals, they become like children. And I found pleasure in just putting that in their face. A perp just 2 seconds ago just rushed out, make the noise campaign, and she starts saying it's our rats because what's happening is my body's being destroyed, and they're using this 21st century weapon system that can destroy your organs. It's obviously the government doing that to me. So when she says that, the truth is like I'm not seeing her as her rats. She partake in this, and this is a program that does that to even children. So I see her truly for what she is. I think they think that at one point things are gonna look more convincing to me, and it just takes 2 seconds, not even that. It's just so easy to be able to put the reality of how disgusting these low life are in their face. It's magical. It is fate, to be honest, because this thing could have happened to me with less validation, but the level of validation now is just so surreal that this trash. I don't know if they can even be seen and feel comfortable with being seen, and me putting that in their faces. They manipulate my brain in so many nasty ways. Give me a second. Let me do this thing. um, they do these manipulations and they truly want you to identify with it. But there's people that you don't even respect, and so most of the time, there's people like you, like, oh gosh, right? And they want you to be agitated and nervous, and oh my gosh, she slammed the door and she did this. So now you're supposed to identify with the manipulation and the facade. I'll never do that. I'll never give them the satisfaction of even giving them the deluded reality they want to they wanted to implant in your brain. The reality is gonna be in their face. They're gonna enjoy what they're gonna enjoy, but they're gonna enjoy understanding that okay, let's not even fantasize. He's not even allowing us to fantasize into like this is a network of feminists and we're mapping and we're matching and we're not rewiring and altering the brain. This is people. These people have no shame, and I'm glad that they don't because I take pleasure in taking pictures of these people and then putting the reality in their faces. Like if somebody wants to ignore something that's in their face, you put it there, like you face, and they just like they look more like no, it's not real, and then you put it in their faces like that, and you see them trying to like block out reality when reality is just in their faces. That's what I love to do with them. Uh, if you could, if I could capture all the different gaslighting tactics they try to use and how comical it is magical. Like I said just 2 seconds ago, this person wanted to box in this thought process, so she opens the door, in this like dramatic way, and it's all like theatrical. They slam the door, and then it's a rat, and then she goes. It's so theatrical. It's so obvious that they just try to make me think, oh my gosh, how this thoughts. And what they were thinking, they make me think of is, I was dating this. Well, I don't even consider dating because she was a perp. I was with this person, somewhat romantically. I say somewhat because everything is orchestrated and nothing is actually sincere. Even though perhaps feeling could have been experienced, the goal of this person being with me is to kind of break me down, right? But I think emotions were kind of felt at some points. But there was baby pictures or child pictures or babies or like toddler picture of this woman, now a woman at my age, right? Uh, and they're giving me the stimulation and sensation on those pictures and giving me sensation and like, oh, I see, oh, we're mad kids, and you have this trash when the reality is obviously what's happened to my brain is that I've been hooked to this device that can alter the mind, right? I love to bring that in put that in their faces, and you gotta be, they try to agitate you as much as possible, but this is the reality.
DARPA launched Project Pandora, which which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. In mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
Citizens being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments. Is Cheryl Welsh telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove. Maybe. But not if you listen to Nick Begich.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welsh and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is the greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Begich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction, the ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behavior of human beings. Going back to the Korean War, in fact, in a publication, Low-Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems, being able to not just debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain.
But how?
HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which started as a joint effort in the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or field of antennas based on Alaska radio frequency antennas.
HARP antennas transmit powerful radio signals into the upper atmosphere to study the effects on wireless communications. But Begich says HARP can also be used for more sinister ends.
HARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response, the brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain, and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just to be about triggering emotions. You could change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts and being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication.
Can we hear sounds?
Designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
With external fields of all kinds. For radio frequency, you can look at the Radio Frequency Dosimetry Handbook, 1986, University of Utah, produced for the Air Force. It gives you the resonant frequencies for each vital organ so that you can send in a radio signal that will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause them to malfunction so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level. Not with bullets and bombs. It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here, but you don't want to destroy the property. You're going to have to rebuild it afterwards. This is a weapon systems of the 21st century. It's the very beginning of it in a lot of ways, but the research goes back over 50 years.
My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons. Microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I've submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
You can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And
So, you understand the level of theatrics that's happening around for you to forget the reality of what's happening here, and these clowns around you that create these theatrics reactions of like aggressiveness, not even aggressiveness, try to sound like mad after they make me experience this reaction or this thought process of this stimulation or sensation that are all altered my brain to experience, are all manipulated for me to experience what they make me experience, for these thoughts to go that way, for my thoughts and reaction to go this way. They have to alter the brain, and then they try to gaslight me in whatever ways possible to try to make me think that this is not something that the brain is being manipulated to experience, but I should be feeling guilty that this is what I'm experiencing. They have no shame, but that's why I love taking picture of them. I'm like, listen, this trash making noise campaign, and every time something of that nature is experienced in my mind. Let me just say this again. For example, it happens in so many versions. They bring up what they've made me experience. There's a time I saw the picture of somebody I was with, quote unquote, strong quote unquote, because she was a perp, and there was a picture of her when she was a child, a little girl, forcing me to get sexual stimulation and sensation that they make me have today, right? And they're bringing that back up in my memories of how they made me experience that, and then act angry and theatrical, and then try to create this thought process, these battles, and it's just always what's happening. It's inoffensive information warfare, like as this man says, so somewhat of a cognitive warfare, which is mentioned in different fashion. And this is the things they've been working on for decades. And so this is just what they've made me experience, bringing up what they made me experience. But in real time today, I experienced that since August 19, 2019. That's my reaction. That's how I've been experiencing what I'm experiencing today since that day. It's been nastiness. Every time I see little kids, little girls of all ages, especially the little ones, they give me a sensation, stimulation. But they like to say, no, we minded. In your brain, it was like that when you were this age or that. And we just, some kind of manipulation. And they do all kind of mental battles to try to kind of break me down. It is non-stop. It is, they play with my memories, or like the timelines, or no, that was before, after. It's always trying to break me down into accepting manipulation, and it's getting worse and worse. And it's like slowly breaking you down. But, if today I lose my mind completely, my sanity is completely taken away. I made plenty of videos where I was able to articulate. And not only I articulated, but it was validation that this is what they do. You just gotta be strong. You gotta understand that they will change your memories. They will change your current experiences. They will manipulate your brain. You will no longer live an authentic reality. You'll be a manipulated reality where everything is altered. And they use these people who are supposed to live in that falsified reality with you to make you accepting of this. 2 seconds ago, somebody delivered food. And, what they love to use is the warnings of this torture. Listen, I know that even the torture I'm going to experience, that currently I'm experiencing these modern ways of being tortured and being altered. For example, my organs are destroyed. I know that things are not working well over there in my gastro, in my kidneys, in my liver. All these organs are being damaged using this modern technology weapon system that this man called it 21st century weapon system. They are degrading those organs, degrading my functionality, my bones, my muscle. It's like I feel like my shoulders are about to be dislocated, my bones, they're fragilized. That's because they're using this technology that can hit the body in this fashion, right? And they're using people of all ages, all races as guinea pigs to develop this weapon. And then they create facades, right? They try to make it seem like we're this group of people and this and that. And nobody's contracted to involve themselves in this. Fun empowerment out of it. That's why they're like, oh, it's us who rotted you. It's our rot. It's supposed to be like a feminist group of adventurers or some sort doing that to me. And their special weapon, their weapons, because it's theirs. It's not the entities that have been working on it for decades. Is what they're using to rot me because they're avenging. Clown. They do these things often where they create a facade, make you believe that this is anything but this massive government that's been working on this technology for decades and using human beings, inclusive of children, as guinea pigs. Today is still happening. And so the psychological manipulation is perhaps for me the most, it breaks you down, right? It takes your energy away. Physically, yes, getting sick, it also breaks you down, but your mental aspect of it, the way they attack the mind is just nasty. And they just start playing with the brain and what they can manipulate. With time, it gets worse. Right now, what's happening in my brain as I'm making this video, they're bringing up what they've made me experience shortly after August 19, 2019. I remember going to the laundromat, and they did this thing to me. They made me experience this thing right after August 19, 2019. But because my memories are being broken down, like phasing away, they're trying to make me think that this is something I experienced before August 19, 2019. That day to me is important because that's the day I always mark as, since that day, that's when they start doing this V2K thing that restructure my brains, reconstructing my brain in these disgusting ways. So they try to create a way to just disorient me, to confuse me, and want me to identify with it. And what they love to do is, once they try to make me accept these false reactions or memories or falsified narrative of the memories, they use these lowlifes to supposed to gaslight me with the noise campaigns and whatever things they're supposed to be doing, and supposed to make me feel nervous. I don't know how they can still do that. I don't know where they find the shamelessness of like not thinking that I look like an idiot at this point. But I'm all for it. I have no problem saying the things that's so obvious that makes me sound like a genius. I have no problem as they play the clowns. Zero problem. I know my brain's gonna go there, it's gonna feel disgusting, but I know that this is what this technology can do. I know they're gonna play the clowns that they're supposed to be playing, and that's the life of people who are able to function and live a dignified life. I don't mind putting that in their face. They have perps that come in all shape and form, and they all try to like create a gaslighting tactic of making you accepting of it. You know, there's this guy who just came and delivered food, and you can see him just like quickly saying here there, just dropping his food and say, "Oh, you're gonna be castrated." I was like, I'd rather get castrated. The reason why he's saying that is because they will make me think in this memories of, not even memories of what they've made me experience when I saw the baby picture of a woman I was with intimately that was a perp last year. I'm like, whatever's going to happen to me, I will never let you live your fantasy in the sense that I have identified with it. I can be castrated, I can be recruited, all the torture you're talking about, it's not going to change reality. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you that. I'm not going to give you that fantasy to you. Everything's going to happen to me with you fully conscious of what you're part of, that I never identified with this manipulation, that they clearly have this manipulation tactic to break people down. And the fact that just gives me like such a dignified, empowering feeling is as they manipulate the brain in this fashion, the reality is you clearly hear the governmental entities behind those. We'll talk about the Department of Defense, right? We'll talk about those entities, which magically enough, which thank you God, and I'm being careful not looking at, I saw a victim of a mass shooting, a 10-year-old that just tried to create some stimulation. That's the nasty things they do. But as I'm looking away, the reality is this.
Investigation for mishandling classified but sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Ali, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, "Hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job?" You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number 1, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number 2, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind?
CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are
has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flicker, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who were being recognized as the ones who were perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, "The notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on." Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office...
You understand? I have no problem to always put that in their face, as clearly the entities running this program are the entities connected to the DoD.